Thank you, Roger, for asking me to come and speak. We do some crazy stuff, but I should probably not freak you out right now. But if I see you get too relaxed, we might call on Marley to do some laughter yoga. We do some weird things. And Roger, maybe at the next event we can have people play with Lego. Okay, great. So I want to talk to you a little bit about the customer experience ecosystem. And it's quite a big topic, and because we only have 20 minutes, I've kind of broken it up into 4 pieces. So the next will follow in the subsequent sessions. Just want to quickly set my timer. Great. So I thought we've got experts in the room, but maybe just reiterate, when we talk about experience, we talk about a number of things. It's both the rational, emotional, and sensory aspects of an experience. And we've seen in financial services that these things are very, very subtle. So if we look at rational, it's kind of around, did I achieve my goal? Was it good value? If I look at emotional, did it make me feel good? And very often the kind of questions we ask clients is, how do you feel about our brand? And it's really not about that. It's about how they feel about themselves when they in that interaction. And then the sensory things. I'll never forget, we did extensive research in 2008 around, the Sanlam experience. And some of the verbatims we got back around the offices and how people experienced the walk-ins. It was not the things that we thought people would be put off by. One of the comments was around a staff member having fish and chips in the office, and it smelled like fish and chips, which is something so subtle, but immediately that affected the experience they had in that office. I don't know if you've had an experience where you go somewhere and they give you a ticket with a number on it. Some people still do it. And you just go like, I'm not touching that. There's no way I'm touching that ticket. It might be a beautiful surrounding, but one thing like that can really put people off. So I want to play you a short clip of how we define experience.
What is customer experience? Customer experience is the feelings and thoughts that a customer associates with your brand. Customer experience is the feelings sparked by an interaction with your brand and turned into a lifetime of stories that the customer later remembers. Customer experience is the way customers feel about themselves when they interact with your brand. The decisions they make are powered by their emotions, which are in turn supported by the internal narrative. Customer experience is the sum of all the highs and lows, the delights and disappointments. Customer experience is the smells and tastes, the sights and sounds that gets conjured up when a customer thinks about your brand. Brandlove facilitates emotional interaction design and cultural transformation.
My daughter came home last year. She was 5 at the time, and she brought a project that they made at school. She brought a picture home, and she ran to me and she said, Mommy, look, I drew you at school. And I looked at the picture, and I had teeth this long, yellow, dripping with saliva. I had spines on my back with a beautiful dress and like really nice lips, and all in all, it was pretty creative. And I said to her, lovely, what inspired you to draw me like that? She goes, like the other day when you were in that store and you were shouting at that lady about the vacuum cleaner. She said, you looked like a dinosaur. I said, great. I remember I didn't feel like a dinosaur. I felt like an absolute bitch. I can remember walking out, having sweat dripping down my face from just feeling evil and being angry because the lady said it's going to take 6 weeks for the vacuum cleaner to come back. I said, you've got to be out of your mind. 4 Jack Russells, 3 kids. There's no way we're living without a vacuum cleaner for 6 weeks. But I think the humble moment I had was, this is what she saw. She drew exactly what she saw, and that's not the person I want to become. And that's really what experience is. I have not been back to a Dion's Wyatt since then, because I'm really scared of who I become when they piss me off. So I think that's very often the narrative that we that we don't see. And I just love this guy. His name is Lou Carbone. He's probably in my career as a customer experience professional, I've learned a lot from this guy. So please go and Google. He's got a lovely book. But he says you cannot not have an experience. So everybody's having experiences around various brands. Whether the brand wants them to remember that experience or not. It's much more about how managed that experience is versus how haphazard that experience happens. So we use this to explain what this is all about. And I know it's quite small. We'll send you a version of this. But if we look at the kind of the pieces of the puzzle above the line, looking at the customer value proposition, the journey, the interaction channels, the employee's journey, and the organizational structure, unless those things work together, you find that there's a real challenge around delivering a consistent experience. And then below the line, there's kind of all the competencies that we need to run a client-centric organization around understanding the client, designing for the client, delivering and managing. So the piece, I'm going to kind of just step through this. So first of all, it's standing in the shoes of the client and asking what they want. And this is really what we're going to be covering today. And then in subsequent sessions, we'll look at, how to design for the client, how to get that cross-channel experience portability, because very often we design very well for, let's say, digital. But as soon as someone breaks out of that channel, it's a really unpleasant, inconsistent experience. And then the last piece is around the employee experience. And really what we're seeing is a lot of companies that are spending quite a bit on revitalizing or redesigning their client experience without focusing on the internal employee experience. For them, it's kind of they're faking it. If we look at a company like Starbucks, they've taken a lot of their marketing spend and they're spending more on employee training than what they are spending on marketing, which immediately that investment in your employees just kind of has a ripple effect and immediately starts making the experience better. So I want to focus first of all looking at the world of the client and what we know about them and what we're trying to achieve for them. So we make some assumptions today that they buy from us, they need our product, and they must like us because they haven't left us. And those are kind of dangerous assumptions. So to demystify some of these things, I want to play you this video clip.
Did you hear that? That's the balance of power changing. We are your neighbors, your brothers and sisters, co-workers, kids, your grandmothers. We're the driver sitting at the red light next to you, the other passengers on the plane. And now we have the power. It used to be Madison Avenue, census data, focus groups, secret shoppers. It used to be jingles, endorsements, infomercials, coupons. It used to be, the customer is always right, said those who didn't listen. But that was yesterday. Today we found our voice. We are strangers, but we are organized. We won't wait for your big data. We want whatever, whenever, wherever. 9 to 5. We live 24 hours a day. We are a moving target. We move fast. We are a movement. We are cutting cords, changing the way things work. Status quo, status no. We brought down the taxi industry, but we are not the enemy. We are your opportunity. We are growing, getting better at getting better. We are your path to success, if you can keep up with us. We'll be on the winning team because we'll pick the winners. We are not millennials. We are families with more Facebook followers than you. We are not baby boomers. We are grandmothers who order Christmas gifts from a touchscreen. Gen X. Gen Y? No, we are Generation CX. And you can be too, if you listen to us. Create for us. Join us. Generation CX.
Very powerful stuff. And I think I have had, I think in the last 2 years, I've had engagements with leaders where we've done work for them before and they call us in and they go like, you know what, people aren't following the processes. They're not orchestrating the journeys like we need them to. And when we do analysis, that's what they're hoping us to find, is that there's process issues. But really the expectations are shifting. They're shifting faster than ever before. And most companies, because they're still kind of cleaning up legacy issues, trying to replace legacy systems and trying to comply with every regulation that's around, they're not keeping up with expectations. So I want to take you through a few ways that we found is exceptionally powerful to get closer to what the expectations are. And in that, start designing for those expectations. So the things we really need to know and would like to know about clients is what is their story and how can we become part of that story. I think, you know, living in complacency that people will just continue to need our products is definitely a mistake. We need to understand why people buy from us. Why would they stay with us? Why would they leave? And then what problems are we currently not solving for them? If we look at Volvo, you know, Volvo spends 0 on competitive analysis. They actually say that they don't give a fuck what their competitors are doing. They just don't care. They are so obsessed about what their customers want from them. And they focus on that and they design for that. And if you look at Volvo, I mean, the brand, what does it stand for? Safety. And they launched a lovely campaign about a year or 2 ago around safety, bicycle safety on the roads. So they're looking for unsolved problems that's very much aligned with their own brand, and they're grabbing that space. And really, if we look at, you know, the problem space, sometimes it's even difficult for companies to verbalize what problems they're solving today because they're so product focused. They want to solve just the problem that their product satisfies, but actually looking just what's sitting on the fringes of that problem space and trying to grab that. So if we look at understanding our clients better, you know, this thing of standing in their shoes, and I mean, we had a lot of fun with Roger's team where they were forced to not look at things from their perspective. They were forced to not think about their product and their processes, but really stand in the shoes of their clients. You know, some of what we do when we try these exercises is we want to look at what our organization looks like from their shoes, but it's never that simple. So if someone's looking for, let's say, insurance, what that client would see is a whole lot of other companies with various pieces of information that's thrown at them. They would see features and prices and forms and very often terminology that's not even comparable. So if we want to get in their shoes, we're going to have to look at the world that they see when they actually have a need and they shop around. Very often, some of these things have really helped making real phone calls. So my team spend about 50% of their time phoning brands and recording that and then unpacking that experience to see where does it go wrong in the experience? What can we hear? What does this call say about this particular brand? Some of the other techniques we've used is creating a war room where you put everything up that a client would see. So if we are doing an investment journey, to actually see what does Sanlam's forms look like compared to Allan Gray, compared to Investec, compared to Coronation, and create a war room where you're faced with that all around you. So this gives a very visual snapshot of what a typical client would see. Then some of the other things I've done with executives is letting them fill in their own forms. And I'll never forget, first journey I did was death claims. And we took the death claims form, and the whole of Exco had to fill in the death claims form, which is a pretty grim thing, because all of the things that go through your mind when you fill in this form is, in my family, what would I really do if someone passed away? But the funny thing about that form was the first thing we asked on the form was the broker code and the name of the intermediary. Which, from a system perspective, you really want to know that. And you really want to capture that lead, and you really want to capture that money. But it's probably not the first thing you're going to ask on the form. But it's very different if you have to fill it in and you have to feel what it feels like when someone's just died and you're trying to fill in this form. The other thing is looking at websites and applying online. Very often, again, it's very different doing it versus seeing it on screens. So if you feel what it feels like, I had a recent experience with Secure Services, where the proxy form, if you fill in that proxy form, the email field and the ID field on the physical form is too short. You're not going to know that if you're sitting in a form designer. You have to feel what it feels like when it's too short, and you have to write above the next heading. Very different experience. I really like this is kind of stapling yourself to a customer order. So taking a particular example and following it through your processes and systems very often highlight things that would not pop up on MIS systems. So tracking it and really understanding each step of the way, as Roger said, what were the expectations of the client, how can we exceed, and how can we fail those expectations. So look at how they traverse your organization, note where it breaks, where it takes long, and then when we do those mappings, we look for white space. So white space is the time when nothing happens. And a good example of this is when you book for Valentine's Day for a restaurant, and if you haven't done so, I would recommend that you book for your loved one for Valentine's Day for next year. Between the time you book and the time you go to the restaurant, what happens? Absolutely nothing. Now, if you had to differentiate that experience, what could happen in that time? Receive a confirmation of your booking.
Some suggestions for the day.
Suggestions for potentially new menu options that becomes available. What else?
Recommendations of flower shops.
Recommendations of flower shops. How about the wine list? How about where to park? So if you are a restaurant and you're trying to embroider your experience so it's a really, really memorable experience, you will go and look at what sits on the fringes of that particular event and how can I close that white space. And then I would get a clever system to automate that for me. So we want to look for those spaces where the opportunity is just not being used. Then also role-playing part of the experience, and that's where we've seen, if you let the frontline do journey mapping, this is absolutely brilliant. When they role-play it, they fix it, they discover that it's not right, and they fix it at the same time. And then obviously listening to recorded calls. That's something we all have in our organizations, and there's just gems in there. We typically listen to about 30 calls, and we know everything that we need to know, random calls. So you build that story and you evaluate the interactions as you track that, and often you'll find a lot of things that you didn't necessarily know about. I want to quickly just talk through this example. I think Zappos is one of the companies that's worldwide being used as a great example. They call themselves a service company that just happens to sell shoes. And they sell like a whole lot of other things as well. But I think they value relationships over profit. And they will find something that they might not have. They'll find it for you and send you to another store just because the relationship with you is more important than making that sale. The longest telephone call with a customer was more than 8 hours. So they abolished this average handling time. And there's probably a heck of a lot more that happened in that call than just selling some shoes. But they really have this culture of empathy and creativity. And I want to play you just this video of what they did.
Hello, and welcome to the Zappos.com's integrated story. Zappos started by selling shoes online, but Zappos was more than just an online shoe retailer. See, Zappos was a company that was dedicated to making people happy. So that was our assignment. See, we had to let people know that Zappos treats their customers like no other company in the world. And they don't just sell shoes, they sell lots of stuff. The answer came by listening to the client, on the phone, while they talked to customers. You see, we realized that Zappos truly is amazing. You can throw any bizarre request at them and they'd help you with a smile. So, that's just what we did.
Thank you for calling Zappos.com. This is Manuel. How can I help you?
Hi, I have a little problem.
Without the customer service people's knowledge, we called them with the most far-fetched requests we could think of.
That's a nice deep fryer.
Yeah, I'm going in another direction.
And they helped us with a smile and sincerity. Imagine that. Then we took these moments and shared them on TV.
It's a great day here at Zappos. How may I help you?
I received the most beautiful dress this morning.
Oh, awesome.
Oh, it's gorgeous. My problem is I don't know who it's from.
Okay, let me take a look here.
Okay. Does this happen a lot?
No, not really. Who do you think it's from?
Is it from Eddie?
No.
Okay. Daryl? He's
No.
like stalking me. Okay. Is it from Jesse?
Yes.
Ah! Rachel, it's from Jesse! Oh my gosh, he's so hot.
And on the radio.
Actual call to Zappos.com.
It's a fantastic day here at Zappos. How can I help you today?
I received some Nike workout clothes as a gift. I want to exchange them.
No problem.
What I was interested in is item number 7475795.
That's a nice deep fryer.
Yeah, I'm going in another direction.
Well, let me put a rush on that for you.
We took the happy, helpful energy of Zappos and migrated this voice to print, online, tip-ins, and even iPad applications. I know, pretty futuristic. People became fans of this quirky, lovable company, and they started buying more than shoes. We even enlisted some fans to help spread the word.
We've been teaming up with Zappos.com all month long to lend some much-needed help for the holidays.
We didn't invent a voice for Zappos.com. We just discovered one that was already there. And, hey, we shared it with the world. No big deal.
And I think the message I take away from this is every client we work with, there's a voice that's already there. It's just about finding it and kind of making that voice louder and sometimes giving that voice permission to actually speak. So the last thing I want to talk about is kind of learning with your customers. And again, here there's some awesome international examples where people have really engaged their clients in building their journey. So invite them to seminars like this and ask them questions, having design thinking sessions with customers. We are working with a customer in Johannesburg, and they have kind of elected some of their clients to attend a Lego serious play journey mapping session because they know their clients will build what they really want. Then another company that I've learned a lot from is Aviva. They used to have a angry customer forum. The angriest, badassest customers that had the biggest complaints, they would invite them into a room. Obviously, they'll feed them and give them something to drink, but then they'd really explore and ask them to craft with them what the solutions would look like. And then leaning forward and anticipating what your clients are going to want from you. If we look at the current world and the things we're trying to solve, I think we're all stuck in still this paradigm of forms and websites and offices, where if we look at the trends around apps, biometrics, video conferencing, and remote offices, it's kind of we're not leaning forward far enough to actually see what the next challenges are going to be. And I think the fact that, my watch can tell my mood, it can tell where I've been, these devices are really shaping what we're going to expect from brands in future, and that's happening quite fast. One of the things we also do is scenario planning to actually say if your business had to shift in the next 5 years, what would it look like? What are the forces that's going to change the way people demand service from you and the way people behave? So the thing about understanding customers is it empowers you to tell stories, and I think that's one of the things that we can see from these Zappos examples is you need to tell those stories into the organization to inspire other people. It also motivates management action. I think one of the things that really kicked off our client experience program within Sanlam in 2008 was executives experiencing what it feels like to do business with the organization, feeling what the officers feel like, actually experiencing that death claims form to see that it's not that easy to fill in and it's not necessarily very client friendly. And then use these insights to design your experiences for the future and try and future-proof your brand through experience. And a nice blend of technology to go with that. So that's really kind of what I wanted to share with you, and I want to just end off by showing you the customer of the future.
If you work in marketing, you better start upping your game.
Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
In just 10 years from now, we'll be buying and influencing buying
in ways that will confound you.
We won't just watch your ads, we'll expect smart, tailored content
based on our social graphs. Tailored for me.
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 And me.
We want to interact with it as we watch it, not just with touch,
but with voice, with gesture,
with intent. You better embed everything that is featured with additional information, social APIs, and e-commerce functionality.
And we mean everything.
Everything.
Everything. The car.
The skirt.
The hotel.
The app.
Because we expect to double tap on anything to get more information.
Don't worry. You'll offset the cost by on-selling any leads to those data aggregator type companies.
We'll spread it through our networks and co-create with you.
And when we do buy, there are normally more of us than there are of you.
We can change your business
in one trade,
as long as the deal is on.
Augmented reality
will be the new reality.
AR apps will almost function like special skills to help us navigate reality more effectively.
You wait and see what the iPhone of 2021 looks like. The clue is in the name.
And you better get used to paying us.
Our browsing, influencing, and purchasing data
will make some of us pretty rich.
But don't overstep the mark, otherwise we'll block you.
Mass blocks kill brands overnight and keep you up all night.
So if you work in marketing, you better start upping your game. Because you haven't seen anything like us yet.
And that scary bunch of kids, those are our customers. So with that, I'm going to end off.